It's easy to talk about acne and blackheads as if they're just surface level problems, but anyone who struggled with them knows there's always something deeper going on beneath the skin, and that's exactly where this conversation needs to start, with what's happening underneath long before a blackhead ever shows up in the mirror. Because when you understand the why, the how to fix it, finally starts to make real, lasting sense. Most people assume blackheads are just dirt trapped in the pores, but they're really a combination of excess oil, dead skin cells, and a natural skin protein called keratin that all come together and get stuck. When that mixture reaches the surface and oxidizes, it turns dark. That's why scrubbing at them doesn't actually remove them. You're just irritating the top while the real blockage is sitting deeper down. And when someone squeezes too hard without softening the skin first, they read not just pushing out a blackhead, they're pushing inflammation deeper into the pore, creating redness, swelling, or even a pimple that wasn't there before. One of the biggest hidden contributors is overactive oil glands. Some people naturally produce more oil, and others stimulate their oil glands with harsh cleansers that strip their skin. The skin responds by producing even more oil, creating a cycle where pores keep filling faster than they can empty. Add makeup that sits on the skin all day or sunscreen that isn't fully washed off at night, and the buildup becomes almost inevitable. And then there's the simple fact that many people don't exfoliate correctly. Either they skip exfoliation altogether, letting dead skin accumulate and clog pores, or they exfoliate so aggressively that the skin becomes irritated and produces more oil to compensate. Both extremes feed the problem. Hormones play a huge role too. When they fluctuate, whether from stress, diet, or natural cycles, the oil glands respond instantly. That's why you'll often notice blackheads becoming more stubborn around stressful times or sudden changes in routine. And stress itself creates inflammation in the body, which makes the skin more reactive and sensitive. Even if you're doing everything right externally, an internal imbalance can keep those pores filling. That's where small daily choices come in. Touching your face frequently pushes oils and bacteria into the pores. Not cleaning your phone screen regularly means you're pressing dirt and oil against your cheek without realizing it. Sleeping on pillowcases that haven't been washed often enough might seem harmless, but those fabrics collect oil and sweat night after night. These little habits add up, and they make a noticeable difference in how easily pores get congested. Another overlooked factor is that many people try to fix blackheads with products that aren't right for their skin type. They might use something too heavy, thinking more moisture will help, or something too drying, assuming that drying out the skin will shrink blackheads. The truth sits somewhere in the middle. Skin needs hydration to stay balanced, but the right kind, lightweight, non-comedogenic, and able to support the skin barrier without suffocating the pores. When that balance is off, even the most expensive products won't deliver results. The skin simply can't function properly if it's irritated, dehydrated, or overloaded. Environmental factors make a difference as well. Pollution, humidity, heat, and even how often you work out can change the behavior of your pores. Sweat by itself doesn't clog pores, but leaving it on the skin mixed with makeup or sunscreen definitely can. And if you live in a polluted area, microscopic particles settle on the skin every time you step outside. Without proper cleansing at the end of the day, those particles become part of the congestion sitting inside the pores. So when blackheads form, it's never just one thing, it's the combination of oil, dead skin, habits, hormones, environment, and skin balance, all coming together in a way you might not notice until the pores start looking rough, uneven, or congested. That's why the solution has to be more than squeezing or scrubbing. It has to be an approach that treats the skin gently, softens what's inside the pores, removes it safely, and then supports the skin so the cycle doesn't repeat itself. Understanding the real reason blackheads form is the moment things start to change, because once you see the full picture, you finally know exactly where to begin and how to take control. Before any extraction even begins, the real work actually starts with preparing the skin the right way. This is the part most people overlook, and it's the reason so many at-home extractions end in redness, irritation, or marks that take days to calm down. Proper preparation isn't just a step. It's the foundation that determines whether what comes next will be smooth, gentle, and effective, or whether the skin will fight you the entire time. And when the goal is to clear the pores without causing harm, preparation becomes the secret that makes all the difference. Everything begins with cleansing, but cleansing with intention. You're not just washing off the surface, you're trying to remove the layer of oil, sunscreen, makeup, and pollutants that have settled onto the skin throughout the day. If that layer isn't cleared away, any pressure applied during extraction ends up pushing those impurities deeper into the pores instead of guiding the blockage out. Using a gentle cleanser, massaging it in for at least a full minute gives the skin a chance to release what it's been holding on to. It softens the surface, starts loosening debris, and creates that clean slate you need before moving ahead. After cleansing, the next step is softening the skin, and this is where so many people skip ahead. Softening is critical because blackheads don't sit at the surface waiting to be lifted out. They're anchored inside the pores, and unless the skin around them is pliable and warm, you end up pressing harder than you should. Warmth helps the skin relax, and steam is one of the most effective ways to achieve that. Even a simple warm towel placed over the face for a few minutes can make a dramatic difference. The heat encourages the pores to open slightly, not in the dramatic way some people imagine, but just enough for the blockage inside to loosen its grip. There are also professional softening agents that make extractions safer and smoother. These are formulas designed to break down the keratin plugs inside the pores, turning something firm and stubborn into something that can be coaxed out more gently. When the material inside the pore becomes soft, you don't have to rely on pressure. Instead, the pore releases what's inside almost on its own, and the skin stays calm throughout the process. Without this softening phase, even experienced hands can find themselves struggling against a pore that simply isn't ready. Patience during preparation is just as important as the products themselves. If you rush through cleansing, rush through steaming, rush through softening, the skin will let you know immediately. You'll see that tight, shiny look that tells you inflammation is kicking in. You'll feel the skin resisting, almost as if it's pushing back. And that's the moment when people tend to press harder, trying to force the extraction to work. But forcing a pore is what leads to broken capillaries, irritation, or even scarring. Taking your time allows the skin to meet you halfway. Another key part of prepping is understanding what not to do before extracting. Anything overly active, strong exfoliants, retinoids, aggressive scrubs should be avoided for at least 24 hours beforehand. These products make the skin more sensitive, more reactive, and more prone to redness. When the goal is a clean and calm extraction, you want the skin in its strongest, most balanced state. Even something as simple as shaving right before can create tiny microabrasions that make the skin vulnerable. Preparation is not just what you do, it's also what you choose to avoid. Hydration matters too. When the skin is hydrated, it's more elastic, more forgiving, and more resistant to trauma. A hydrated pore releases debris more easily. A dehydrated pore clings to it. Even a lightweight water-based moisturizer before steaming can help the skin soften more evenly. It's like preparing the pores to behave well, giving them what they need before asking them to cooperate. And then there's the mindset going into extraction. Preparation isn't only physical, it's also about setting the intention to work slowly and respectfully with the skin. When you treat the skin like something delicate, something worth taking your time with, the entire process becomes smoother. You start noticing small cues, slight resistance, slight redness, slight warming, that tell you exactly how the skin is feeling in that moment. Working with those cues instead of against them is how you get clean results without irritation. By the time the skin is softened, warmed, cleansed, and calm, extraction becomes a controlled process instead of a battle. That's what prep is about. It sets the stage, creates the conditions, and ensures every step that follows is safer, easier, and far more successful. And when the skin is truly ready, the difference is unmistakable because a well-prepared pore is a pore that's ready to let go. When it comes to removing blackheads safely, this is the moment where technique truly matters because even with perfect preparation, getting the actual extraction wrong can undo all the careful work you've just put in. Most people think extraction is about squeezing hard enough until something comes out. But real extraction is about control, gentle pressure, reading the skin's response, and knowing exactly when to stop. It's a precise balance between firmness and respect for the skin. And once you understand that balance, the whole process becomes smoother, cleaner, and far less traumatic for the pores. The first rule is always to start with the lightest pressure possible. When the skin has been softened properly, you don't need to force anything out. You're guiding the blockage, not forcing it through a doorway that's too tight. Using your fingers wrapped in clean gauze gives you grip without slipping and keeps the skin protected from your nails. Positioning matters too. Pressure should always be downward and then gently upward, almost like you're rolling the blockage out, not pinching it. When the angle is right, you'll feel the pore release instead of popping violently. There's also a rhythm to good extraction. You press, then pause, then adjust your fingers, then press again. Rushing leads to uneven pressure, and uneven pressure causes the skin to swell before anything comes out. When the skin begins to swell, the pore tightens in response, and suddenly the blockage becomes even harder to remove. That's when frustration kicks in and people start pushing harder, thinking a little more force will solve the problem. But that's the moment when damage happens. Capillaries burst, skin bruises, inflammation sets in, and now the pore has more to heal from than just a blackhead. Tools can help, but only when used correctly. A comedone extractor isn't meant to dig or scrape, it's meant to create even, steady pressure around the pore. The loop should sit comfortably around the blackhead, and you're letting the pressure guide the blockage upward with minimal force. If you feel like you have to shove the tool into the skin, that's your sign the pore isn't ready or the angle is wrong. A tool used gently can make extraction cleaner, but a tool used aggressively can leave marks that linger for days. One of the most important skills in professional extraction is learning to recognize when a pore is ready and when it isn't. Not every blackhead should be removed in one session. Some are too deep, too firm, or sitting under swelling you can't see. If you press and nothing moves within the first 2 or 3 attempts, that's your cue to step back. The pore isn't refusing, it's telling you it needs more softening or more time. Forcing it will only push the debris deeper, turning a simple blackhead into an inflammatory pimple. Knowing when to stop is just as important as knowing how to start. Another sign to watch is the color and texture of the skin during extraction. If you see sudden blanching or a sharp line forming, pressure is becoming too harsh. If the skin turns warm or shiny, you're triggering inflammation. The goal is always to keep the skin as calm as possible throughout the process. Calm skin cooperates, agitated skin fights back, and the difference shows immediately in how cleanly the pore releases. Breathing and pacing actually matter too. When you slow down, your hands become steadier, your pressure becomes more controlled, and your judgment becomes sharper. Skin responds to pacing. If extraction feels like a rush, the skin tenses and swells. If extraction is done with a steady hand, the skin stays relaxed and open to the process. This is why professionals always seem to move slowly even when they're experienced. Speed is the enemy of precision in extractions. After each successful extraction, gently wiping the area right away keeps the surrounding skin clean and prevents any residue from settling back into the pore. It also gives you a clear look at the skin's condition, so you can decide whether to continue in that area or give it a break. The goal isn't to clear every single pore at once. It's to remove what the skin is ready to release today while protecting its ability to heal smoothly afterward. A safe extraction is never about pushing harder. It's about working smarter, listening to the skin, and knowing that the best results come from patience, technique, and respect for the process. And when the skin is treated with that kind of care, every extraction becomes not just successful, but truly transformative. A deep facial cleansing routine isn't just a list of steps, it's a rhythm that supports the skin day after day, especially if it's oily, congested, or prone to recurring breakouts. And what makes this routine effective isn't how fancy the products are, it's how consistently each step is done with intention. When you understand what your skin actually needs and why each step matters, that's when you start seeing real clarity, not just temporary improvement. This routine becomes less of a chore and more of a steady conversation with your skin, guiding it back into balance one decision at a time. It all begins with cleansing in a way that doesn't strip the skin, but actually respects it. Most people either wash too gently or too aggressively, and both extremes eventually work against them. A good cleanser should dissolve oil, sunscreen, makeup, pollution, and all the debris the day leaves behind, but it shouldn't leave the skin tight or squeaky. That tight feeling might seem clean, but what it really signals is a damaged barrier that will respond by producing even more oil. Massaging the cleanser for a full minute allows it to break through the film sitting on the surface, and that bit of extra time makes a difference you can feel. When you rinse, the skin should feel balanced. Never dry, never greasy. Just cleaned out exfoliation is the step that changes everything when it's done correctly and harms everything when it's done wrong. People think exfoliating harder or more often will give them smoother skin, but the skin doesn't work that way. Exfoliate too much and you create micro-irritation that triggers more oil production. Exfoliate too little and dead skin piles up, trapping oil inside the pores. A chemical exfoliant like salicylic acid works beautifully for congested skin because it can travel deeper into the pore, dissolving the buildup from the inside instead of just buffing the surface. Using it 2 or 3 times a week keeps the pores clearer without overwhelming the skin. And when exfoliation is spaced out intentionally, the skin has room to breathe and recover between uses. Once the skin is exfoliated, it's far more receptive to the rest of the routine. This is where targeted products can make the biggest difference. Ingredients like niacinamide help regulate oil production, reduce redness, and strengthen the skin barrier. Something like azelaic acid can calm inflammation, brighten uneven tone, and support the skin after breakouts. These ingredients don't work overnight, but they build up results slowly and steadily. When the skin is in a calm, balanced state, the pores stay clearer for longer and the texture becomes noticeably smoother. Hydration might seem counterintuitive if your skin is oily, but hydrated skin behaves better. When it lacks moisture, it compensates with more oil, which only feeds the cycle of congestion. A lightweight gel moisturizer or water-based hydrator keeps the skin cushioned and flexible without overwhelming it. You're not trying to smother the pores. You're giving them enough moisture so they don't panic. Hydrated skin also heals more easily, which is important after extractions or any form of exfoliation. The more support you give the skin, the more resilient it becomes. Sunscreen is another essential part of a deep cleansing routine, and for oily or acne-prone skin, finding the right one can feel like winning a lottery, but it's worth the effort. The sun not only darkens post-acne marks, but also thickens the top layer of skin over time, making it harder for pores to stay clear. A lightweight, non-comedogenic sunscreen protects the skin without clogging it, creating a shield that prevents new damage while allowing every other part of the routine to work the way it's supposed to. Skipping sunscreen isn't an option if the goal is long-term clarity. What keeps this routine working isn't perfection, it's consistency and small adjustments. If your skin feels tight, you tweak the cleanser. If it feels oily all the time, maybe exfoliation needs adjusting. If breakouts cluster around specific areas, you look at habits like touching your face or letting sweat sit after workouts. The routine grows with you, and the more you pay attention, the easier it becomes to understand what your skin is asking for. This is how you prevent blackheads and acne from coming back instead of just reacting to them after they show up. A deep cleansing routine is really about creating the conditions where your skin can do what it naturally wants to do, stay clear, smooth, and balanced. And when every step supports that goal, your skin stays on track because you've finally given it what it's been waiting for. Once an extraction is finished, the real turning point in the entire routine actually happens in the moments that follow. This is where the skin decides whether it's going to heal cleanly, stay calm and stay clear, or whether irritation, new breakouts, and lingering marks will take over. Post-extraction care isn't optional. It's the quiet part of the process that protects everything you just worked for. And the skin is incredibly responsive in this moment. It's open, slightly vulnerable, and ready to absorb whatever you apply. Treat it gently and it rewards you. Rush through it or skip steps and the skin remembers. The very first priority is calming the skin. After an extraction, the pore has been opened mechanically, even if you did everything perfectly. That pore needs support. A soothing compress or a cool, clean towel can immediately bring down warmth and prevent the swelling that often shows up minutes later. Cooling the skin is one of the fastest ways to keep redness from spiraling into irritation. And when the temperature of the skin drops, inflammation settles, and the pore starts closing naturally without trapping anything inside. This is also the moment when you want to bring in ingredients that support healing instead of stimulating the skin. Something like witch hazel in a gentle formulation can reduce excess oil and tighten the area without dehydrating it. A water-based serum with centella, green tea, or chamomile can calm any micro-irritation and give the skin that sense of relief it craves after being worked on. These ingredients communicate to the skin that it's safe, that it doesn't need to flare up, and that it can start repairing the small disruptions left behind. Then there's the part many people skip, protecting the skin barrier. After extractions, the skin barrier is slightly more exposed, even if the skin doesn't look irritated. A lightweight moisturizer helps seal everything you've just applied, holding in hydration and preventing external irritants from settling into the pores you've just cleared. When the moisture barrier is supported, the skin heals faster and cleaner. When it's ignored, tiny invisible cracks begin forming, and those cracks can allow bacteria or debris back inside, undoing all the progress. A good moisturizer doesn't smother the skin, it cushions it. This is also the point when people are tempted to go back to exfoliating or applying strong actives because the skin looks great right after extraction. But this is actually when the skin is least ready for anything harsh. Strong acids, retinoids, or scrubs create irritation when applied too soon after extraction, and they can even create peeling or sensitivity that lasts for days. The skin can only handle so much stimulation at once. Giving it time to settle is what ensures your routine works with the skin, not against it. At this stage, the focus should be on recovery, not correction. Another important piece of post-extraction care is making sure the pores stay clean while they heal. Even though the debris has been removed, a pore that has just been cleared is like a fresh doorway, wide open. Sweat, oil, makeup, or bacteria entering that pore too soon can turn into a breakout quickly. That's why avoiding makeup for at least a few hours, sometimes the rest of the day, makes such a difference. The skin needs that time to tighten and reestablish its natural defenses. If you absolutely have to apply something, keeping it minimal, clean, and non-comedogenic reduces the risk. Hydration plays a huge role here too. After extraction, hydrated skin is healthy skin. When the skin has water, it repairs itself efficiently and keeps inflammation to a minimum. A dehydrated pore is more likely to become irritated or clogged again because the skin around it becomes stiff and unable to function properly. Even something as simple as using a hydrating mist or a hyaluronic acid serum can give the skin the comfort it needs. Before going back to your regular routine, it helps to observe the skin for a moment. Look at how it's responding. If it feels warm, give it more cooling. If it looks dry, give it more hydration. If it feels tender, be gentle with it. The more you tune into these signals, the better you become at understanding exactly what your skin needs in every moment. Post-extraction care isn't about blindly following rules. It's about listening to your skin and giving it the support it's asking for. This phase is what determines how the skin looks not just today, but days from now. It's what prevents the cycle of irritation, breakout, extraction, and irritation from repeating endlessly. When the skin is cared for thoughtfully after extractions, it heals quietly, evenly, and beautifully. And that's the difference between a pore that's simply emptied and a pore that's truly restored. Long-term prevention is where everything finally comes together, because once you understand why blackheads form, how to prepare the skin, how to extract safely, how to cleanse deeply, and how to soothe and protect afterward, the only thing left is keeping those results steady. And this is where many people struggle. They can fix the skin for a day, maybe a week, but keeping the pores consistently clear feels like an uphill battle. But long-term clarity isn't about perfection. It's about small, steady habits that stack up quietly until the skin finally starts behaving the way you want it to. These habits are what break the cycle, and they're a lot simpler than most people think. It starts with consistency. Even the best routine in the world won't do much if it's done once in a while. Skin loves patterns. It responds to repetition. When you cleanse the same way every night, exfoliate on a schedule, moisturize daily, protect with sunscreen every morning, and give it the same kind of support day after day, the skin begins to regulate itself. Oil production evens out, the pores don't fill as quickly, inflammation stays low, and the barrier becomes stronger. Most people think they need new products, but what they really need is consistent use of the ones that already work. Another major part of long-term prevention is understanding your triggers, and everyone has them. For some, it's hormonal shifts that increase oil production and make the pores feel congested almost overnight. For others, it's stress, the kind that tightens the body, raises cortisol levels, and sends the oil glands into overdrive? Sometimes the trigger is diet. Not because food causes acne directly, but because certain foods can influence inflammation or oil production in subtle ways. When you pay attention to these patterns, you begin to understand how your skin responds to your life, not just your products. Then there's the daily environment your skin lives in. Sweat is one of the most common causes of clogged pores, not because sweat itself is a problem, but because people let it sit on their skin. Working out, running errands in humid weather, or even rushing around during the day creates a film of oil and sweat that traps debris. If you don't rinse or wipe it off, the pores take the hit. Something as simple as gently cleansing after a workout or rinsing with cool water can prevent a day's worth of buildup from settling in. Your hands play a role too, more than most people realize. Touching your face transfers oil, dirt, and bacteria constantly. Even if your hands look clean, resting your chin on your hand while thinking, rubbing your temples when stressed, adjusting your face while looking at your phone, these little habits matter. And speaking of phones, those screens collect so much oil and bacteria that every time they touch your cheek, you're pressing that entire layer into the pores. Cleaning your phone daily becomes a surprisingly powerful acne prevention step. Sleep is another hidden factor. When you don't get enough sleep, your body enters a stress state and the skin shows it quickly. Poor sleep increases inflammation, slows healing, and throws off the balance of oil production. And your pillowcase, if not washed regularly, collects oil, sweat, hair products, and even airborne particles from your room. Rotating pillowcases often, even just flipping them over midweek, can make a noticeable difference. Then there's the way you treat your skin when a breakout does happen. Long-term prevention means not panicking, not picking, not squeezing something that isn't ready, and not attacking your skin with 5 different products out of frustration. Every time you get aggressive with your skin, you create a chain reaction of inflammation that takes weeks to settle. Prevention is about staying calm and sticking to a plan even when the skin acts up. Using the right products consistently matters too. Ingredients like salicylic acid, niacinamide, retinoids, and lightweight hydrators are meant to shock the skin. They're meant to guide it back into balance slowly. Retinoids help the pores turn over more efficiently. Niacinamide keeps oil under control. Salicylic acid keeps debris from building up. A good routine with these ingredients is like having your pores on a long-term maintenance program, and the last piece of the puzzle is understanding that clear skin isn't a destination. It's a relationship you build with your skin over time. There will be good days and bad days, and both are normal. The goal isn't flawless, it's steady, it's predictable. It's knowing what your skin needs before the problem even starts. Long-term prevention isn't dramatic, but it's powerful because once you get the skin into a rhythm that supports clarity, it stays clear not by chance, but because you've set it up to succeed every single day. And that consistency is what keeps your pores truly under control.